Okay, we are now quarter two, week 2, day 3. Jamie has 8/10 of a candy bar left over. So not a full candy bar, but 8/10 of it. He wants to split it into 1/3 pieces. How many 1/3 pieces can he do? So let's do this. 8/10 divided by 1/3. All right, we can't really cross reduce. Oh, actually, we can't do that yet. We have to keep change flip first. So we're going to keep the 8/10. The divided by sign becomes a multiplication sign. And the 1/3 becomes 3/1. Still can't do any cross reducing, so we have 8 times 3, which is 24. 10 times 1, which is 10. How many times does 10 go into 24? Well, if you count by tens, it's 10, 20, so 2 tens. We've used up 20 of the 24, so how much is left over on top? That would be 4 out of 10. Not quite finished yet, though, because we can reduce 4 and 10. 2 goes into 4 twice. 2 goes into 10 5 times. So, the final answer, once we simplify, is 2 2/5. We could have simplified first here and made this 12/5. Okay, and then gone from there. But either way, it works just fine. The answer is 2 2/5. Okay, now we need to find the quotient. Well, that is fine. We'll give us ourselves a little more space here, and then we'll find the quotient. Okay, so how many times does 18 go into 4? Well, it can't. So we're going to have to actually do it into 44. How many times does 18 go into 44? Well, I would say 2 times, right? Because 18 is close to 20. 2 20s would be about 40. So let's do that. 8 and 8 is 16. So we'll do that. Put 6 here. And then 2 times 1 is 1. And then 3. Okay, so we are subtracting now 36 from 44. Well, 36 to 40 would be 4. And then 4 more would be 8. So 44 minus 36 is 8. Then we'll bring down the 6. Okay. So how many times does 18 go into 86? Well, once again, 18 is close to 20. 4 sets of 20 would be around 80, so let's do 4 again. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 more is 7. All right. So if we do 86 minus 72, we're going to end up with 14. And bring down a 7. All right, so then how many times would 18 go into 147? Okay, I would have to say there's probably going to be about 8. So let's check and see. 8 times 8 is 64. So make this a 6. Put this 4 down here. 8 times 1 is 8. Plus 6 is 14. Yeah, that was pretty close. So that worked out well. 7 minus 4 is 3. And then zeros, so bring down the 4. How many times does 18 go into 34? Let's see, 18 times 2 is going to be 30. Well, it's going to be too many, right? So we're can only do 18 for this one. So it's going to be 34 minus 18. So if we do 34 minus 18, that will give us a 6 here and a 1. Yeah, so a 6 here and then a 1 right here because we're going to be borrowing that. Okay, so 14 minus 8 is 6. Okay, so then we'll bring down a 0. So how many times does 18 go into 160? Well, I'm going to say 8 again. And we just did that a little bit ago and got 144. So I'm just going to go ahead and instead of working it all out, put the 144 here. Okay, so if we do 160 minus 144, we're going to end up with just 16. Okay, so again, we're going to have to kind of move over to a spot here where we can continue going. So it's 160. Well, once again, I think we're going to have to just put another 8 here. And do 144, okay, which will give us a 16. and then another 0. All right, I think we can see what's going on here. It's just going to continue having 8s forever. Okay, so we can just kind of round it and stop there. So we're going to have 2,481 point, well, we can just put a 9 right there and just round it. Okay, so that could be our answer. Or we could put 2,481.8 with a line over the 8 means it's repeating decimal forever. So either one of those would be good answers for this one. All right, we are finding the sum and we have decimals. So what do we have to do with the decimals? Yes, we have to line them up. So I rewrote it with the decimals lined up. And I know this space right here probably bothers people unless there's a 0 there. So I fill it in with a 0 right now. There we go. So we have 9 plus a 0 is a 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. Carry the 1. 7 plus 1 is 8. Plus 1 more is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. So, and then 9 plus 1 is 10. Plus 4 more obviously is 14. 8 plus 1 is 9. And a 1. Just bring down the decimal, come over 3 places, put our comma, and it looks like our answer is 19,419.09 or 9 hundredths. So 19,419.09. All right, so it says, what is the greatest common factor of 72 and 36? All right, so here are all the factors of 72. Here are all the factors of 36. What is the biggest number that is in both of those groups? Well, if you look, it looks like probably the number 36. That's your answer. The greatest common factor of 72 and 36 is 36. You could possibly look right off the bat and look, hey, here's the smaller number of the two. Does that go into the bigger number? And if it does, that's always going to be the greatest common factor. So you can start off with that. And if that works, then it saves you a lot of extra work. Complete the table. Okay, so let's look in, like we have been doing with ratio tables in the past. What does it take to get from 8 to 16? Well, that is times 2. And then if we do 1 times 2, that gives you 2. So there's our ratio. Our basic rate, or our unit rate, basically is 8 to 1. And then we're just going to kind of scale up and down from that. Now, on this one, we actually have the number on the adults side. So let's see what it takes to get from 8 to 24. 8 times what will give you 24? Well, the answer to that is 3. So to get to this number, you're going to have to do 1 times 3. And 1 times 3 is 3. So that's the answer for this one. Now on this one, then we have the side of the children, and we're missing this side. So what would we do is we're going to look over now on the other side and say, what does it take to get from 1 to 4? Well, obviously it's 1 times 4 will give you 4. So we're going to have to do 8 times 4, and 8 times 4 is 32. Okay, so that's the answer on this side. So this missing number is 3 because it has to stay with the same ratio of 8 to 1. And this one is 32, again, because it has to stay within the same ratio of 8 to 1. What is 50% of 35? Well, 50% just means half of something. So to do it really, really easy, we can just slice 35 in half. Well, if we just go down 1 to 34, okay, half of 34 is 17. And then, of course, we have to go up to 35. So it's going to be 17 and a half is going to be 50% of 35. So that's the quick answer. The other way we can do this, again, is kind of like through the process we learned. We can change 50% to a decimal, which would be 0.5. Or 0.50, but it's kind of unnecessary to put the 0. And then we can multiply that by whatever the number is. So to find 50% of 35, we're just going to multiply 0.5, because 50% is also 0.50, or 50 over 100. Any of these are the exact same value. This is fraction, this is decimal, this is percent. It's the same stuff. All right, so 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 more is 17. And then we just moved the decimal over one place, and we ended up in the exact same place that we did last time, which was 17.5. So either way, that's how we would get the answer. How many inches in 4 feet? Okay, you guys probably know this, that every 1 foot has 12 inches. Okay, so, oh, there's supposed to be a T there. That's interesting. All right, so 1 foot. All right. So if we are looking at this, we have 12 inches is in 1 foot. Okay, we'll just put it back to that. And if we want to get to 4 feet, we're obviously going to multiply by 4, right? So 1 times 4 will give you 4. So we're going to do the same thing with 12. We're going to do 12 times 4, and that's going to give us 48 inches. So that's our answer. How many inches in 4 feet? There would be 48 inches. Evaluate the expression. Well, the first thing we're going to have to do here is parentheses. And looks like there's some interesting stuff going on in there. So we're going to have 2 plus 3/6. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just write 2 over 1 plus 3 over 6. Well, we're going to have to find a common denominator here. Okay, so what is obviously the common denominator? Well, it's going to be 6 because 1 will go into anything. So 6 times 1 is 6. 3 times 1 is just 3. So that stays the same. But to get from 1 to 6, 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12. So now this is going to be 12 plus 3, which is 15. That's going to be 15 over 6. All right. So that's going to be our starting point. Inside of the parentheses there is 15 over 6. Okay, so what do we have to do next is exponents. Okay, exponents is 3 to the 3rd power. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So we'll write that down. Next, we look and see if there's any multiplication and division, and there is. We have to multiply these two. Well, 6 is actually 6 over 1 times 15 over 6. All right, so we can see here that we're going to quickly cross-reduce and take make a 1 here and a 1 here, which means this is simply going to be 15 over 1, or just 15. Last, we just add up 27 plus 15, so we have 27 and 15. We're adding those. 5 plus 7 is 12. All right, so it's supposed to be adding. 5 plus 7 is 12. 2 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. Okay, so we have the final answer for this one, which is 42. All right, that was a lot of work, but that's how we got to it. We have 42 as the answer to this expression. Okay, it says write a word phrase to represent the numerical expression below. So a word phrase. All right, well, let's just look at this. What's happening here first? Well, it's 5 plus something. So let's go ahead and write that down. 5 plus. All right, so we have 5 plus, and then we're going to have what's going on in here. So we're doing the parentheses, and that's going to be 17 minus 8. And what they like to call subtraction when you're using words is difference. Okay, so if that's the case, then it's 5 plus the difference of what numbers? 17 and 8. So it's 5 plus the difference of 17 and 8. So there we have it. If we put the whole thing together, it says 5 plus, which is this, the difference of 17 and 8. So if you said that, someone would say, oh, you're going to add 5 to 17 minus 8.